Hello, dear, kind and good people. Let us take a virtual and mental journey to Laos, the Valley of 1,000 Jars, the most mysterious place on Earth. If you want to convince yourself that history is an endless challenge, it is worth traveling to Indochina. The destination is Laos, where you will discover one of the most mysterious places in all of Southeast Asia. Imagine a valley scattered with thousands of enormous stone jars, some of them even fitted with stone lids. A person can step inside almost up to the waist, while the largest ones are big enough to completely hide someone. Some people call them the Asian version of Stonehenge, only smaller and not nearly as famous. This is the Plain of Jars, the most mysterious region in Southeast Asia. It is located in a remote part of northeastern Laos in Xiangkhouang Province. The valley contains more than 60 jar sites scattered across hilltops over an area stretching for dozens of kilometers at the foot of the Annamite Range between Laos and Vietnam. The jars stand between 1 and 3 meters tall and are either round or square in shape. Some reach a diameter of 1 meter and weigh as much as 7 tons. They are carved from durable stone, mainly granite and sandstone. Despite their enormous weight, they were most likely made elsewhere and then transported somehow to their present locations. Researchers recently discovered stone quarries that were probably the source of the material used for the jars. They also found partially finished jars in the area. Unlike most ancient monuments in Asia, which have already revealed many of their secrets to scholars, historians still have no idea where these jars came from, how old they are, or what they were used for. Similar vessels exist elsewhere in the world, but only as isolated examples. In Bulgaria, there is a large stone cup from which Krali Marko is said to have drunk wine. Armenia also has large stone objects. The greatest concentration of jars is found near the town of Fonsavan, where one site contains around 250 jars of various sizes. Most remarkably, many of them are decorated. Carving thousands of these vessels in such a sparsely populated region was truly an extraordinary achievement. But who created them? According to Laotian legends, a race of giants once lived in these lands. The jars were made to store rice and wine for a giant who lived nearby. One myth tells of a cruel ruler named Chao Anka, who once dominated the region. A folk hero named Kun Juam came from southern China to help the people free themselves. To celebrate the victory, he ordered the local villagers to create the enormous jars. According to this version, they were cast in molds using a type of cement made from dried buffalo hide, sand, water, and sugar cane, then fired in a nearby cave later named Grotte Crematoire by its discoverers centuries afterward. Another legend tells of a king named Kung Chung, who fought a long war and finally defeated his enemies. Afterward, he ordered the jars to be made so they could hold large quantities of Lao rice wine for fermentation, allowing him to celebrate his victory. The legends clearly exaggerate certain details because carving, decorating, and transporting the jars would have required an enormous amount of time. Such a gigantic undertaking would have taken years, perhaps even decades. Moreover, evidence suggests that many jars were made at different times, with neighboring jars sometimes differing in age by centuries. According to the currently accepted theory, They were created by a megalithic civilization that lived during the early Iron Age, about which almost nothing is known. This makes the valley one of the world's most valuable prehistoric archaeological monuments. Even the smallest jars weigh several tons. It remains a mystery how they were transported to the tops of the hills, but that is not the greatest puzzle. Even more astonishing is the question of what purpose they served for the people who invested such tremendous effort in placing them there. According to scholars, the jars are between 1,500 and 2,000 years old. Some are so richly decorated that they may have been shaped using a gigantic potter's wheel. They feature carved prism-like patterns and, in some cases, even human figures. In ancient times, most jars probably had round stone lids. Several have been found decorated with concentric cylindrical circles on their upper surfaces. It is believed that most of the lids were gradually removed by local inhabitants for other practical uses. The same appears to be true of the jar's contents, as nearly all of them are now empty. Curious tourists who insist on climbing inside will find nothing but cobwebs and the occasional lizard. The French archaeologist Henri Parmentier was the first to learn about the jars at the beginning of the 20th century. He noticed that local people traded glass and stone beads, which had apparently been taken from the jars, along with other ancient artifacts. This led Parmentier to conclude that the jars were actually tombs, where the dead had been placed together with offerings to the gods. Inside one jar, he found objects typical of a burial: 2 black cooking pots, several axes, a lamp, and beads. The jars were studied most thoroughly during the 1930s by archaeologist Madeleine Colani. She identified 3 types of jars: short and wide, tall and narrow, and prism-shaped. According to her, the ancient people carved the hard stone using bronze tools. Colani and her team excavated the surrounding area and discovered Grotte Crematoire. Inside, they found human remains, burned bones, and ashes. The cave, measuring 23 meters in length, consists of a single chamber with natural openings in its ceiling. Because of the smoke traces, Colani believed it may have served as a crematorium. She firmly believed that the jars had been used in burial ceremonies. According to her theory, the bodies, primarily those of tribal chiefs, were first cremated either completely or partially, and then placed inside the jars. Her theory was supported by the discovery of bones, beads, bronze and iron tools, and other human-made objects inside several jars. Today, all of these finds are far from the jars, having been transported to France. Further excavations inside the cave uncovered additional human remains, including unburned bones. Since the bodies date from different historical periods, it is possible that the site continued to serve as a cemetery in later times, following newer burial traditions. Of course, another theory exists regarding the cave. According to some researchers, it was actually a kiln where the jars had been fired after being molded from a mixture of natural materials such as clay, sand, sugar, and various animal products. Many scholars, however, remain skeptical of this theory because most of the jars are made from a much harder stone mixture that most likely incorporated granite fragments. Colani also noticed that the jars were positioned along an ancient caravan trade route that began on the coast of Vietnam and extended to the hills of northern Kachor in India. Jar sites have also been discovered in Thailand and India. Their linear arrangement is clearly visible in aerial photographs. Human remains have also been found inside some of the jars along this route. Perhaps they served as preserved food for giants. However, if they were located along an ancient caravan route, wouldn't it be more logical to assume that the jars were used to store trade goods, grain, or rice? Some scholars raise exactly this question. It is quite possible that the jars served different purposes during different historical periods. They may originally have functioned as food depots along the trade route and later been reused as burial urns. Future archaeological expeditions may eventually determine who placed them there and why. It turns out, however, that solving the mystery will be an extremely difficult task. The Plain of Jars in Laos is one of the most dangerous archaeological sites in the world. It was directly above this area that American pilots dumped unexploded ordnance from their aircraft while returning to base during the Vietnam War. The region also stands as vivid evidence of what occurred during the so-called Secret War, which the United States waged against Laos during the 1960s and 1970s in an effort to stop the spread of communism. While the world's attention was focused on the Vietnam War, the United States dropped more bombs on Laos than it had dropped on Germany and Japan combined during the entire Second World War. As a result, Laos became the most heavily bombed country in human history, despite never officially taking part in the Vietnam conflict. During the war, the Laotian revolutionary movement Pathet Lao used Grotte Crematoire as a hideout, and American aircraft bombed the cave several times. The area around Phan Savan remains littered with unexploded ordnance to this day. This terrible legacy continues to explode from time to time, killing or maiming local farmers. Every year many people lose their lives, or their arms, legs, or even their eyesight, while trying to approach the jars. It is therefore a double-edged sword. On the one hand, scientists cannot easily access the jars. On the other hand, the unexploded munitions protect the contents of the jars from looters. So far, 3 of the main jar sites have been completely cleared of unexploded ordnance, including the largest site near Phan Savan. Others remain closed to visitors. The clearance work has been carried out by the non-governmental organization Mines Advisory Group, which has conducted controlled detonations every week since 2004. The authorities in Laos are currently seeking UNESCO World Heritage status for the valley, despite the many mysteries that still surround it.